All right, so in this video, we're going to utilize the local operating system's file system. We're going to create a dialog box that'll give us the ability to save some data to a file. And so let's just start going here. So I have a pretty basic setup, nothing fancy here. We have our JSON file that was created with our entry point of main.js. We have our scripts tag start that's starting up our Electron application. I've installed Electron as dev dependencies, and let's see, I have an index page that's pretty vanilla, not much to it. So we have an input, and in this input field, my thought is whatever data is in the input box, when we click on this button, then we can save that data to a file. The main is pretty straightforward, nothing fancy here. This is what we've done in prior videos. We set up our Electron, we set up our browser window. We, on ready of our application, opened up our browser window. I've set it to a width of 500, and I've loaded the index.html page. So there's nothing fancy at all going on here, but I just want to demonstrate. See, very simple. All right, so let's hop to it. Remember that when we're linking to a JavaScript page in our HTML, now we're using this require instead of what we've done in the past. So require dot slash means look in the same directory that I'm currently sitting in, which is the index page, and look for renderer.js. I didn't mean to pull that over. And then in our renderer.js file, nothing going on yet, but this is where we're going to put all of our magic for our opening of not opening, we're going to be saving a file. All right, so the first thing we got to do is set this all up. We need to get certain libraries hooked up. So we're going to do var app equals require like we've seen before. But this time we're going to do Electron, and we're going to get the remote library. We're also going to get the dialog, which is a submodule of the remote, or as we set it up, the dialog, or excuse me, the app variable. And we are going to access the file system using Node.js's fs library. Require fs. Okay, straightforward. Some vanilla JavaScript. So let's set up an event listener for our button. Document, not fragment, document. Boy, oh goodness gracious. Document, get element by ID. I called it button. And we'll set up an event listener for the click. And when we have the click, we'll run a function called save file. So function save file. All right, nothing receiving, there we go. So pretty straightforward, nothing fancy. None of this is really fancy. Most of this is just the same JavaScript you've had before. We are going to utilize the dialog methods. Let's see what we have here. We have show open dialog and show save dialog. That sounds like two things we will come in handy here very shortly. So we'll do the show save dialog box. And what happens when the show dialog box is put up, a callback function will run that returns to us the file name that the user entered for the name of their file. And so we are going to capture that file name in whatever variable. This is what's sent back to us, and we're going to then use that argument in a function here. And so now we're sitting on a file name that we got from the save dialog box. Let's just see if that works for the short run. npm start, so you can see what it is that we're working on. And so when we clicked on the button, we're getting this save file, save as dialog box. And whatever file name the user puts in, this file name, whatever it is, JSON or whatever you're going to be doing, as soon as they click save, then that is the value we're getting here in file name. Okay, if they did not put anything in, if they hit the cancel button instead of actually put a file name, we're going to want to capture that. So I'm going to do that first. If file name does not equal to undefined, so if they don't click anything and they hit cancel, we get back an undefined for file name. And so we want to catch that and we'll say something like alert, you didn't enter in a file name. Pretty straightforward. All right, and then maybe we'll return out of here so we're not going to play in here anymore. If we pass our if statement, we don't return, that means we're still in this function. So let's do something with file name. Well, we need to get the content. Remember, I suggested that we're going to get the content out of this text field. So let's get the content out, because that's what we're going to save. That's the data we're going to save in our file. So that's plain old JavaScript. Document get element by ID. And oops, what happened here? Did I push on accident? Yep. Get element by ID. We called it content. Dot value. So let's get that text out. Now we've got text and we've got a file name. We have everything we need. Stop fixing that for me. Value. Okay, I don't know why it's fixing that for me. Value. There we go. Okay, document get element by ID. Yep. Okay. So now we need to write our file. So that's where the Node.js FS library comes in handy. We have this thing called write file that FS library provides us. It wants the file name. Well, we know what the file name is. You can see here what it's looking for. It wants the data and then any errors that might be returned. So content, we got the content from our text file, our text box content. And then if there's an error, we can capture that. And that was a callback function, so we need to honor that. Oops. And we can say if error, then maybe we'll console log it. Console log the error. Otherwise, alert, the file has been saved successfully. All right, let's run it and see if that in fact worked. So npm start and create a file, put some data in here. Here is my name. And I'm gonna put it on the desktop so it's easy to find. And we'll call it the file.txt and we'll save it. It says the file has been saved successfully. So if I go to my desktop, and the file, there it is. So it seems to have worked just fine. So I leave it up to you to figure out how you need to format it so that you can read it, save it the way you need to be able to read it in for your task list. But that's utilizing the local file system to save a file.